I'm Josh Corcoran, and these are CJSW Stories. CJSW Stories is a show about the people behind the mic and behind the scenes sharing their stories of making great radio. My guest today is Helen Young, Music and Performance Director. What brought you to CJSW?
It was the year 2013. I had been out of school, which was ACAD at the time, for about 3 years, just kind of working, and I listened to CJSW quite a bit, but then it was kind of about roughly that time where I thought, hey, I'm out of school, I kind of feel like I've lost a bit of my kind of community, I would be awesome to just get involved with something in some kind of capacity with like-minded folks and stuff like that. So, hey, I listened to CJSW. Maybe I can go see what that's all about. Yeah, so I swung by the station. It was Genevieve at the time as the volunteer coordinator, and she was lovely and got me acquainted with the station. And I just started volunteering, and I think it was it was leading up to funding drive, so all my tasks were like funding drive related, the rolling of t-shirts and folding of cards and all that stuff, and started doing a bit of CD processing and that kind of thing, and then was taken in pretty quickly and was soon trained to be an on-air programmer with Adam Camus and Tristan McSweeney.
So it wasn't long in between you showing up and getting on air trained.
That's right. Yeah, it really wasn't. It was a mere few months.
And so what's the coolest thing you've when you first walked through the door, what was the coolest thing about CJSW?
I think as soon as you walk in, there's automatically just kind of a nice there's a casual vibe, but it's also it's inviting, but it's also just kind of cool. Like there's just like cool things on the walls, and it just seems like a place that I wanted to be. It encompasses a lot of the things I'm interested in with like independent music and all that, and just feels good here.
I'd have to agree, definitely there. And so you started in 2013. What keeps you coming back?
Because I ended up with a radio show that I just felt obligated to show up for every single week, and I guess here I still am. No, I really do love it here, and when I found like I would have my weekly show, and I would be working jobs that I wasn't a big fan of, but I would have the day of my show be my day off, and it just felt like such a nice break in my week to be like, okay, here's something that it's it's something that I've decided to do, and I'm have to show up for and whatever, but it's also something that I want to be there for, and it was a nice break in my week to be like, yep, here we go, radio day.
Do you think having a show for as long as you have has allowed your taste in music to grow and change?
Certainly, yes. I think I intake music differently than I did before I had a show. For good or bad, like in some ways, I feel like I'll just start kind of taking in music that fits for my show a little bit more than exploring other genres. So that's kind of something that did change, I feel like, when I decided to have the kind of show that I do. But it also allowed me, or kind of motivated me, to dig a little bit deeper. Putting together like a 2-hour show every single week you're definitely having to do some digging. And so yeah, it kind of got me exploring music a little bit further. And over the course of time, I've had the same program, but it has evolved since the beginning. So it has kind of, developed and changed into what it is.
Now, you recently became the music and performance director. I probably got the title wrong.
Oh, you got it.
What's that like?
So it's coming up on 2 years now. And again, coming into this role has also altered the way that I take in music. Because now that's my job is largely listening to music of many different genres every single day. Yeah, it's pretty cool to have had the experience of volunteering and programming for the amount of time that I've had, and then to step into this side of the organization has been a real cool experience. And just sort of being a part of the inner workings on this end is pretty neat. And it's music director is kind of a bit of a mysterious position, I feel like, in a lot of ways, and it has taken me time to sort of even fully understand what my job is. But it's a lot of moving parts, and it's pretty neat, and I feel like I'm kind of more in tune and in touch with what's going on in music, and more so now than ever. And it's just been a really great experience. I love the staff here, love the volunteers, programmers. Like, it's just a great crew of people.
So when you're interacting with artists out there, you're not only interacting with artists, but you're interacting sometimes with their labels that produces their records or their content. What's that like?
So I guess like a large part of my role is intaking new music from artists and labels and promoters and publicists to be added to our chart list. So once an album is on the chart list, just to give a little bit of background as to why we do this, not only is it to provide new content for our programmers, it's also to get like artists and labels exposure, but it's also so that we can, I will report my charts nationally and internationally weekly. And so that kind of, if you end up on our top 30 chart or a top 10 chart in a genre, that means that the programmer, you've been getting quite a bit of plays here at the station based on the new additions that I've put on the chart list. And that can help artists quite a bit when they're applying for grants and things like that, to say, hey, I've made it to the top 10 spot here this week or something like that. But there is, it's very saturated out there. There's a lot of new music coming out all the time. So I interact quite a bit with not only like independent artists, but also their labels, as you're saying. And it's kind of like, I guess for me, because of how much music there is out there, you have to sort of be able to kind of hone it in. So I look towards what our programming looks like to sort of help navigate like what should be on our chart list. What kind of programs do we have? We've got a few jazz programs. We've got some folk programs. There's some, maybe we've got one or two neoclassical kind of programs and things like that. So what labels can I reach out to who might be kind of represent artists that fit into these kinds of genres that our station is kind of currently playing? So yeah, it's a whole big mystery sometimes what goes on behind the scenes.
Lots of emails and maybe phone calls, I would assume.
Yes, lots and lots of emails and some phone calls.
Now, when it comes to having live bands, because CJSW does have live bands in quite frequently, what's that like for you to stand behind that big mixing board and make it sound good and go out on the air?
To be honest, I think that's my favorite part of the job. Has been learning all this live session sound teching stuff and just being able to line up live on our performances and pick programs that certain groups and artists work on, and just everything that goes into it. There's a lot of, again, like moving parts that take place in having a live session on air. I work with a great group of people as like the live session crew. I've learned so much. I walked in here having used like a mixing board, a very small kind of mixing board situation in a small handful of times. So it's its own unique thing too. It's not necessarily just like mixing for a live show. It's like mixing for on-air radio. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a very cool opportunity, and it's pretty unique opportunity too.
And what's it like interacting with the bands as they come through?
That's also an interesting part of the whole process. Largely, everyone is very lovely. Everyone's got their own kind of, it's unique interacting with every artist that comes in. But it's pretty neat because if I haven't met them before, and then we have this kind of like unique interaction of they came into the station, I like did sound check and teched their session for X amount of time, got them on air, had our little chit chat, and then maybe later on I go to the show and I see them there, and we've already had this like kind of unique interaction earlier that day, and it's just kind of like a neat sort of experience. But yeah, I really like that side of it. It's fun and funny sometimes. And
every June, Sled Island happens, and it's usually a crazy hectic time around these parts because we bring in so many bands in the course of 6 days. What's that like for you in your role?
Last June was my first experience as the music performance director during Sled Island. The year before that, there was no Sled Island due to the pandemic. So I have 1 year of experience in this role. And it was a wild, I think 6 days, where we brought in 19 live sessions within those 6 days. It felt very good about it. It felt organized. I had a good group of people I was working with. I think we were still all smiles by the end of the week, for the most part. But it did take a lot of kind of just organizing and planning to be able to make that happen. You kind of keep the band room set up the same so that it's kind of like a plug and play kind of situation. A lot of the bands that were coming in, aside from 2 of them, were all out of town bands. So they would come in and maybe they had a driver to come up to the station, and it would be like we had designated a couple spots in the music library here for them to load their gear in and out. So it was quite a bit of a shuffle, but I feel really good about it. We were able to film every single session. Like I said, we had a really great kind of group working on it all together, and it came together, and it was very cool to meet some of these bands. It's a fun part of my job to be able to have a bit of a wish list for some of the bands to bring in during the festival, and I think most of the ones that I had really, really wanted did come in. So that was an awesome opportunity.
When it comes to bringing in new volunteers, I know that there are people out there that are listening that probably have thought about volunteering at CJSW, but they're not sure how to go about it. Maybe they're nervous to walk through our doors or make that phone call or send that email. What advice would you give those people out there?
I would say waltz the heck on in. It's a very inviting space. We have got an incredible volunteer coordinator who sits at the front of the station, and several staff that sit right in the front there too, and everyone's always happy to see fresh faces come in. If you ever just want to come and take a little tour of the space and see if it feels like somewhere that you'd like to kind of hang out and maybe volunteer and kind of learn some new things and offer some of your own skills, it's a great place for that. I think I was a little bit nervous when I first decided I wanted to come in here, just because like I listened to the radio, and I think that's maybe the case for a lot of people, is you're listening to the radio, you have your favorite programs, and it kind of seems like this amazing sort of place that like, oh my gosh, like behind the scenes, like I don't know, it's a strange experience walking into the place that you're like, I have my own sort of relationship with the radio, and now here I am and I can see the host. Like, that's so bizarre, but it's really not it's not as intimidating as maybe it might come across. But there's lots of volunteer opportunities out there. Just kind of, you can sort of end up navigating towards what sparks a lot of joy for you. So, yeah.
My guest today was Helen Young, Music and Performance Director. Thank you for listening to CJSW Stories. I'm Josh Corcoran.